or banners, we've got you covered. Our state-of-the-art printing technology ensures vibrant colors, clear text, and professional finishing that will make your brand stand out from the crowd. But that's not all. We pride ourselves on exceptional customer service, fast turnaround times, and competitive pricing to fit any budget. So why wait? Visit the Lagos Diocesan Printing Press today at 17 Broad Street, Lagos Anglican Seminary, and let us help you make a lasting impression. You can also give us a call on 0703 559 7826 or 0816 398 2570. Lagos Diocesan Printing Press, where your vision becomes reality.
Hello everyone, I am the Right Reverend Ifedola Senasu Gabriel Okupevi, Bishop of Lagos. You are listening to LagoonRadio, your number one online gospel radio in Nigeria, and the official radio of the Diocese of Lagos Anglican Communion. God bless you as you keep on listening to us. God bless Nigeria. God will keep Nigeria. Lagoon of blessings will be upon you. Keep on listening, keep on smiling, and peace will reign in your domain. In Jesus' name.
This is LagoonRadio.
Anglican Communion Diocese of Lagos, transmitting live from the Diocesan Media Center, 29 Marina, Lagos. It's the 16th day of May 2025, and I am ANOSIKE CHIMEZIE, welcoming you to today's edition of the show. Know Your Rights is just a legal program where we educate you on your rights as a citizen of the nation. So today, another special day, we will be looking at drafting a will. Yes, oftentimes this question has been asked, will. Do Nigerians know the importance of will? So drafting a will, a yea or nay. And this morning, yes, we have Barrister OGECHI OLISA-MOKELU. She's a principal partner, Eagles Heights Attorneys. She's our guest. Good morning. Barrister, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this morning, we want to talk about will. What is a will?
Okay, a will basically it's a legal document that you write while you're still alive, stating how you want your property to be distributed when you're no more. When you're no more, basically.
Okay. So, why is will important, or do I need a will?
The truth is, the average African, whenever they hear will, everyone shouts, "Oh, why do I need to write a will? Do I even have anything I'm going to will to somebody? God forbid." It's not my portion. I don't want to die. That's what comes to mind when you speak to people about writing a will. But the truth is, everyone needs to write a will. Once you're of a legal age and you're of sound mind and understand the implication of writing a will, you should be able to write a will.
Okay, now, are there types of will? Okay.
Certainly, there are different types of will.
Okay.
But for the purpose of our discussion, I would advise, or I would want to speak about the statutory will.
Okay.
The statutory will is, another question that comes to mind. People will ask you that maybe they don't want to pay so much, to write a will, and want to know if they can draft the will by themselves. The answer to that, I would say, you can, but it's not advisable.
Okay.
Why do I say that? Because the statutory will has certain requirements that have to be present for that will to become valid. So it's one thing for you to maybe go online and go and research and try to draft your will by yourself. And it's one thing for when it comes to that will being implemented for it to be valid and recognized, by law. It's just like maybe me as a lawyer now going online to go and research. I have stomach ache, and what do I do if I have this? And try to do a surgery on myself. It's, of course, I can't do it. So it's the same thing. So for statutory wills, there are so many conditions. It has to be in writing. The person who is making the will, the testator, has to have the intention of transferring title. He or she must have signed the document. There must be witnesses. Those witnesses must have signed in the presence of each other. There are so many, conditions which, if you draft the will yourself, you may not be privy to. So that's the reason why I say it's good to use the services of a lawyer. And there's also another type of will I would want to speak to. It's the one that, in quotes, the layman would describe as a will that you give on your deathbed. So that one is, it's something that is also valid and recognized, but there are also conditions.
Okay.
So there has to be the condition of the person who is the testator believing that he is at the point of death. So if the person believes he's at the point of death and he feels, this is all I can do now, I'm not able to wait till I get maybe pen and paper or, get my lawyer here before I say, my last wishes, but there are also certain things that have to be there. There have to be witnesses because we would not, the law in its wisdom would not want people to lie and claim what, did not happen. So there, of course, there's also the one that applies to seamen, the privileged will. So a young man who is a soldier who is going to war and is already, on the war front and assumes he is going to die can also give a will. And the law is flexible on the conditions of that. So it doesn't have to fulfill all the conditions that a statutory will should, fulfill. So those are the three major ones I would want to emphasize or speak to.
Okay, now, before we proceed, before we talk about the statutory will now, someone will say, if I don't have anything, do I have to write a will?
Yes. When you say you don't have anything, you don't have a bank account.
Oh.
It doesn't have to be. You don't have to be so rich like
Okay.
the very rich people. You have a salary, you have a bank account, you have maybe a car. You can start from there. Okay. And the truth is, you don't have to wait till you have a lot. You can start little and update your will as you earn more. So if I have just one car and salary, and maybe in 2 years' time, I have a plot of land, I can update my will.
Okay.
So you don't have to wait till you've acquired everything before you start writing the will. Yes.
Okay, now let's talk about the statutory will. Normally, what is statutory will and how does it run?
Okay, statutory will basically is, the major one that applies to the everyday person. Okay. So how does it run? You have to list all your assets. So the assets could be in form of pension. It could be in form of monies in different banks. It could be in form of landed property. When you've listed all that you have, then you have to ensure that you have executor. You have to appoint an executor or executors, as the case may be. Depends on which option you want to go with.
Okay.
Then after you've done that, you have to make sure that you attest to the will. So you have to bring people who will witness and sign that will. You also have to have beneficiaries. So you can't just write a will and not state the people who will benefit from your estate. You also have to notify in writing that is your last will and testament, because at the point of death, it is the very last will and testament that the law will recognize. And after you've done all of this, and I advise, like I said before, a lawyer guides you, it has to be lodged in the probate registry. Like we see Nollywood, some Nollywood movies, you will see maybe someone dies and a lawyer comes to the house to read the will. That is not the regular practice.
Oh.
You're supposed to go to the probate registry and notify the probate that your client who had lodged this will on this day has died. And because you're not the only one, and the probate registry is really busy, it's not something that you walk in and walk out. So you have to notify them that this person has died. Please look through your calendar and give us a date when we can come for the reading of the will.
Okay.
So the reading of the will is mostly done in the probate registry. Of course, there are exceptions in law. There's always an exception to every rule. So there could be instances where the reading can be done in your house, but that is not the norm.
Okay. Yes. So now, you just talked about what we witness on the Nollywood and the rest of them. Now, sometimes we've seen scenarios in movies where a will was read and some people will be saying, this cannot be this man's will.
Absolutely.
Can a will be contested?
Of course, a will can be contested. And for you to contest, it's not something you do by yourself. You have to go to court.
Oh.
So if you feel that this is not, for whatever reason, maybe you feel the person was not of sound mind, or you feel, oh, my dad that loved me so much cannot leave me with one old car, you can actually contest. Yes, you can.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the second one. Before the privileged will. Yes. Let's talk about that one. What did you call it? I can't remember.
The one on the death will?
Yeah, the death will.
Okay.
So what is the death will all about?
Okay, it's just basically, like the name implies, it's an oral will that is recognized by law. Because the Nigerian law, of course, I refer again to Nollywood movies. You see, recorded, scenes where there's a big screen and the person is reading out. In Nigerian law, it's not, the oral, will is not recognized yet. But the only option, like I said, there's an exception to every rule, is the oral will you make on your deathbed. So you're assuming that, I don't have much time. Anything can happen in the next, I don't know what will happen in the next 2 seconds. And I wish to quickly, say my last intentions or my wishes. I want to do this. I want to quickly give my child this, blah, blah, blah. So that's the one that is recognized.
Okay. Now, that's the oral will. Will it be in the presence of lawyers or in the presence of just family members?
It doesn't have to be lawyers, witnesses.
Witnesses?
Yes.
Can that one also be contested also?
Every will can be contested. But that's the essence of having witnesses. When you're able to say, oh, I was there, he said this and he said that. Because the truth is, anybody can actually say that someone said.
Okay.
And when you're not there to say you did not say, there's a problem.
So invariably, in the modern world now, it can be also recorded.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's talk about the privileged will.
Okay.
What is what it is all about?
Okay, the privileged will basically is just a will that the law will not be strict in its application. So the law will not be strict to say, oh, because this will is not in writing, we would not it will not be valid. Or because there were not enough witnesses, it will not be valid. So it's given to, like the name implies, it's privileged. So it's given to people who are maybe seamen, sailors, maybe soldiers who are, in the war front. They know that in the circumstance where they found themselves, they had little or no option as to, making it, following the due process of the statutory will. So the law would recognize it and overlook some of the basic requirements of a statutory will. So it's only applicable to not a retired soldier. It's serving. It has to be people who are serving. And it's believed that at the time of making the will, you really didn't have much options.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, we have a question. Sheung said, good morning, Lagoon Radio, and thank you, the barrister. Please, do wills expire?
No, wills don't expire, but they can be revoked, if that's what you mean. So what do I mean? I can make a will today, and maybe at the time I was making the will, I thought, let me say my first son was maybe capable or is capable of handling the affairs of my business when I'm not there. Then maybe 6 months or 1 year after I've written the will, I feel, I think he has more interest in something else. Why don't I give this aspect of the will to, or this aspect of my property to my third son? who is more inclined to doing this. So you can make another, you could either make another will or a codicil. Codicil is a miniature will, revoking the older one.
Okay.
Saying that, okay, I want to adjust or amend these aspects of the will. So in that instance, it can be revoked, but it doesn't expire.
Okay, let's go on a short break. When we come back, we'll be taking some questions also from our listeners, and we dig deep more into this will. You're still listening to Lagoon Radio, your number one online gospel radio in Nigeria, and we are talking about drafting a will, a yea or nay. And Barrister OGECHI is still here with us. Keep listening to us. We'll be right back after this break.
This is Lagoon Radio.
Are you looking for top-notch printing services that deliver quality and reliability every time? Look no further. The Lagos Diocesan Printing Press is here to serve you. At the Lagos Diocesan Printing Press, we specialize in bringing your ideas to life with precision and excellence. Whether you need business cards, brochures, flyers, or banners, we've got you covered. Our state-of-the-art printing technology ensures vibrant colors, clear text, and professional finishing that will make your brand stand out from the crowd. But that's not all. We pride ourselves on exceptional customer service, fast turnaround times, and competitive pricing to fit any budget. So why wait? Visit the Lagos Diocesan Printing Press today at 17 Broad Street, Lagos Anglican Seminary, and let us help you make a lasting impression. You can also give us a call on 0703 559 7826 or 0816 398 2570. Lagos Diocesan Printing Press, where your vision becomes reality.
Hello everyone, I am the Right Reverend Ifedola Senasu Gabriel Okupevi, Bishop of Lagos. You are listening to Lagoon Radio, your number one online gospel radio in Nigeria, and the official radio of the Diocese of Lagos Anglican Communion. God bless you as you keep on listening to us. God bless Nigeria. God will keep Nigeria. Lagoon of blessings will be upon you. Keep on listening. Keep on smiling, and peace will reign in your domain. In Jesus' name.
This is Lagoon Radio.
Yes, you're welcome back. It's still Lagoon Radio. And we are still on Know Your Rights, our legal program on Lagoon Radio, your number one online gospel radio in Nigeria and the official radio of the Anglican Communion Diocese of Lagos, transmitting live from the Diocesan Media Center, 29 Marina, Lagos. And we are talking about drafting a will, a yea or a nay. Barrister OGECHI OLISA-MOKELU is our guest. She's the principal partner, Eagles Heights Attorneys. And I am ANOSIKE CHIMEZIE, the host of the show. And yes, Barrister, I have a question. Someone also, Kenneth, said, "Good morning, Lagoon Radio. Thank you very much for this. Please, I missed out. Can a poor man have a will?"
My brother, yes, absolutely. You know, a poor man has an account. I mean, it depends on your definition of poor. In this era, I don't know who is not who can be described as a rich man. You know, so yes, everyone can make a will once you're up to 18 years and you have a bank account and you're of sound mind. Yes, you can.
Okay. Okay, I have another. Okay, it's just a greeting. Sharon say, "Good morning, Lagoon Radio. Thank you very much. Thank you, Barrister, for doing this good work." Thank you, Sharon, for listening. Okay, now, having said this, now in Africa or in Nigeria, you just listen to the question that where somebody asks if a poor man can have a will. What will you advise, especially who are listening to us, who believes that it is only rich people that can have a will? What and what do you need? I know you've mentioned it before, but for those that are just joining us on the show, what and what do you need to have a will or put a will in place?
Okay, the truth is, everybody, like I said, can make a will. A poor man today will not remain poor forever. A poor man today will become a rich man tomorrow. Where you were yesterday is not where you'll be tomorrow, by the grace of God. So once you have, I'm starting, with the bank account, because that's the basic thing that every Nigerian has. So once you have a bank account, and there's, even if you think it's 1 naira that is inside, God forbid anything happens to you, you won't want that 1 naira to go to someone you don't know. You rather it's someone who, you want, maybe your family member, your spouse, your child, to have the 1 naira. So the basic thing is to go, there are lawyers everywhere who are not so expensive. So I would start with that, because I know that what readily comes to mind when people talk about making will or drafting wills is the money that they intend to pay. So don't look at the money. When I mean don't look at the money, when you don't make a will and you have to apply for a letter of administration, the money you spend doing that one is more than the money you spend, paying a lawyer to, quickly do a draft for you. So I would say again, everybody can draft a will. Look for a lawyer who is affordable, who is, you can afford to pay. There are also pro bono lawyers who can also help you do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when I posted this flyer yesterday, someone asked a question. I know he's listening. He said, just like we can have joint accounts as spouse, can there also be something like joint will?
I would say yes and no. Why do I
Okay.
say yes and no? Because people don't die. You don't anticipate. There are few instances where, spouses, for instance, die on the same day. So it's possible to have that, but the technicalities of implementing that is not straightforward. So I would rather you have, separate wills. But if you want to have a joint trust, it's a different thing.
Okay.
Trust is something that it's something that it's able to come into play when you're still alive, as against the will.
Oh.
So a will comes into play when you're dead. So in a trust, you can have a joint trust. You and your wife would agree, we want to be saving 10 naira every month towards education for our children if any of us dies. Or we want to be saving 10 naira to be paying their school fees while we're still here. So you can do that jointly. But in terms of your will, the technicalities of implementing a joint will is not straightforward. And the truth is, what are we trying to avoid by drafting a will? We're trying to avoid the people who are mourners, the people who will mourn us, from going in through the complicated processes of trying to bring out whatever it is that we have left for them. So having a joint will would, at the end of the day, not reduce that grief.
Okay, Shehu asked a question again. He said, if a will can be contested, now, what is the best way to protect my will?
Okay, the best way to protect your will is, number one, to have it drafted by a professional.
Oh, God.
Number two, after the professional has drafted it, make sure that that will is lodged in the probate registry.
Oh.
Why do I say that? Some people think that once they are done, once your lawyer is done drafting, that's it. You just take it and keep, in a safe place in your house. No, that's the beginning of the process. So that's why I always go back to this my statement of getting a professional. A professional will advise you that is not where it stops. So the probate registry is in the high courts in every state. So their main responsibility is to take the will from you, look through it to be sure that it satisfies the requirements of the law. Then after that, they lodge it by sealing it. There's a red wasp that they put, and they seal it and keep it in a safe place. So that is what is recognized. So if the person dies, that is what the lawyer will apply for. And they open it in your presence to show you that it has not been tampered with and all of that. So that is the best way to go about it.
So whenever the will is updated, you go to the registry, remove it again, update it, and...
Yes, but I personally, for the clients I've worked with, I always advise to do a codicil. Why? A codicil is just an addendum saying I'm attaching this to what is already there. So, but you can retrieve. But the process of retrieving it, you go there, apply for that, retrieve it. If you're retrieving, the testator, that's the person that made the will, has to be there. Has to come along with you to say, yes, I am retrieving, and they want to find out the reason for the retrieval. So it's not something I mean, for instance, me that the lawyer that lodged it can just walk into the probate registry and say, I want to retrieve. The testator has to be there to say, I am retrieving it based on A, B, C, D, E, F. So it's easier to just do a codicil, an addendum, and attach, saying, okay, this is, an updated version of what I have. But either ways you can retrieve. It's applicable.
Okay, I'm learning a lot this morning, and I also know that you that is listening, you are learning. Okay, someone also said, good morning, Lagoon Radio. Thank you very much for this. I so much love the way the barrister is explaining everything. I hope you do more of this. Okay, thank you, Michael, for that message. Now, barrister, the last question I have here is, please, can you also tell us again the difference between statutory will and privileged will? I just joined. I had a bit of it.
Okay. So the statutory will is the will that is recognized by the law.
Okay.
So the statutory will, for it to be valid, there are certain ingredients that must be present. Number one, it has to be shown that that is the testator's last will and testament. Number two, it has to show that the testator is of sound mind. There's no coercion. He's not being forced to, write that will. Number three, the list of all his assets, liabilities have to be there. His signature must be there. He has to have witnesses that must sign in the presence of each other. So it's not a case of one person signs and they take the will to the next, maybe his friend who lives in the next state, maybe Ogun State, to sign. You have to sign in the presence of each other. Then, of course, the beneficiaries of the estate must be stated there. There must also be an executor. So there are basic things that must be present for that will to be valid. That is a statutory will. But the privileged will recognizes that there are certain people who may not be able, because of the circumstances around maybe their job, who may not be able to make sure that all these ingredients I've listed are present. So, for instance, someone who is in a war front, you will not expect that that person would look for two people to come and sign the will in the presence of each other. You will not expect that the person will be able to write maybe a written will, for instance. So those privileges are exclusive to these certain individuals. So, for instance, soldiers, sailors, and all of that. So that is the basic difference between the two.
Okay, now, what happens to properties of the deceased that are not captured in the will? Maybe he was not able to update before the person dies. What happens to those properties?
That is a very good question, It's the essence of updating your will. When circumstances change, it is very important that you update the will. So the truth is, anything can actually happen to those kind of things. Number one, people might not even know that those things exist.
Okay.
You've seen instances where, people die and one caretaker, maybe after 20 years, is now claims to be landlord because maybe the wife did not know that the property was existing, So that is the essence of updating. So when you say what happens, the only thing I would say that would happen is, number one, if we're able to even identify the property. That's the key thing. If you know that something exists, then if it exists, then you can throw it back to the estate. Then the executors of the estate may decide on how to, go about the distribution based on that. But ordinarily, I would say, please update your will as soon as circumstances change.
Okay, now, I have a funny question. It's also Michael. He said, good morning, barrister. I came from a polygamous home, and the way it is going, I feel that some of the properties might not get to me. What should I do if anything happens to my father and nothing is willed to me?
Okay, the truth is, I don't. Number one, I hope, I pray that your father, drafts a will, because we have seen instances where even the closest of families start fighting, conflict, different kinds of conflict arise. Okay, I'll give an example. One of the reasons why I developed some kind of interest with regards to this is when I was doing my court attachment. Court attachment is what you do before you're called to bar. So I was in court one day, and there was a lawyer. This case had been on for, at the time, 34 years. His father was the one that started the case. The father had died. They were still in court. So that is the typical thing that happens in, polygamous homes when there's no will. What applies is the intestate rule of succession. So they will start arguing. So for instance, what applies in the state you're from? What is the customary law of so for instance, if you're from Anambra State, and the customary law says the first son is the one that inherits the father's property in the village. Even if the father did not intend to give that property in the village to the first son, maybe because he feels the first son is selfish, because the father did not write a will, that is what will apply. Some other people will come and argue, no, this particular property, he built it in Lagos State. So what should apply is not the customary law of people in Anambra, even though the man is from Anambra. It should be the law in Lagos State, the customary law in Lagos State. The customary law in Lagos State, does it say that the property should go to the first son? No. It might say that the property should go to the youngest son because it is believed that the youngest son, at the time the father dies, is still struggling. It's assumed that maybe the first son should have been able to make money. And so the truth is, his question was, what should he do? My brother, my prayer is that your dad writes a will. If your daddy does not write a will, it is what is the customary law of your people that will apply in sharing the property.
Now, just like you said, you mentioned the customary law. Sometimes, in a clan where the people are not educated, can customary laws override a will?
No. N-O, capital no. That is the advantage of writing the will.
Okay.
Customary law cannot override. The customary law only comes to play when the person dies intestate. That's when he dies without writing a will. That is when the customary law comes.
In some clans where we have a lot of people who are not educated, when you talk about will, they say, no, this should be, like you said, when some certain properties are deemed to be for the first son, somehow, but when a will comes out, you see some elders saying, this is not how it is done in this clan. So, say it again. Do customary laws override wills?
Customary laws don't override wills.
Okay.
Excuse me. The only thing, like you said about, so for instance, I'll say an Obi. I'm an Igbo lady. I'm from Ebonyi State, married to an Anambra man, grew up in Enugu. So, I'm an Igbo, woman. So, the truth is, there are some particular properties that even the person, the testator, the person making the will knows that, it's the custom of our people. I inherited this Obi from my father. My father inherited it from his father. The father before him inherited it from the father before him. So, the truth is, those kind of properties, the ordinary man in his right senses naturally give it to his first son, who, by custom, is entitled to that.
Okay, before we round up on the show, now, what would be your advice to Nigerians or those listening to us, particularly those who don't have a will? What would be your advice to them?
Advice, my dear listeners, don't wait till you are rich, in quotes. Don't wait till you acquire all the properties you want to acquire before you make a will. You can start with the little you have today and update as the circumstances change. You are single today. You can write your will. If by the next 1 year you get married, you update it. If in 2 years' time God has blessed you with children, you update, because I'm sure you want your children to benefit from your will. So as the circumstances change, you update, but don't stay just that way without writing a will. It's very important, because if you don't do it, it's like you leaving things to chance. So, I mean, writing a will for me is the greatest form of expressing your love for people that, around you. You can decide, if you have young children, I want this person to be their guardian. You state it in your will. You can decide what you want to happen when you're not there. But if you don't write a will, you're leaving it to chance. And anything can happen. Strangers might inherit your property. Your elder brother, your younger brother can come and say, this is your wife. Even though she has 3 sons for you or has 3 children for you, does not have a son. Therefore, they don't deserve to own this, house that you built. So for me, don't wait, my brother. Right? Starts, today. My brother, my sister. When I say brother, I'm not saying it's only men that write wills. I'm using that to describe both genders.
Okay, our producer is asking a question. She's an Igbo also. So she's asking, can women also partake in the will of the deceased?
There's a decided case. It's very popular that made it very straightforward. A child, doesn't matter the sex of the child, can inherit once that is the wish of the father.
Okay.
Do you understand me? So a child, a biological child, male or female, can inherit Igbo land anywhere.
Okay. So sometimes, in Igbo, some places they will tell you that a woman doesn't own a land.
That's where the customary law comes to play.
Okay.
So that's why we're going back to saying you should write the will.
Okay.
So once you have written that will and you're saying, my beloved Ada, and the truth is, I'm sorry, Oga, the girls are the ones that take care of they take care of their parents more. That's the reality. So the father says, my beloved daughter, I want my beloved daughter to inherit A. Your village people, your own one cannot come and say, my brother did not say that. My brother has written a will. Therefore, that Ada is, protected by law and, should be able to inherit that. Okay,
Michael said, thank you, barrister. Even if I have only one watch now, let me go and write my will.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. That's my intention. I'm even starting with the people in the studio with me. As I'm even here today, I hope that you do the needful.
Sure. Okay, and another message. Shehu also, I must sincerely thank you, Lagoon Radio. This has added to my day. Thank you, barrister, for doing this. I hope to hear more of this on your radio. Okay, before we go now, you talked about trust. What is that difference between trust and a will? Let's use that to conclude the program.
The difference is basically that once takes effect immediately, like when you're still alive. The other one takes effect when you're dead. That's just the difference. So the will takes effect when you're dead. The trust takes effect. I mean, you can decide for the trust to take effect immediately. Yes.
Okay. We must sincerely thank you, barrister, for coming on the show. And that's why was barrister OGECHI OLISA-MOKELU. She is the principal partner, Eagles Heights Attorneys. She's the one that educated us this morning on this program, drafting a will. And it's all about Know Your Right, our legal program on Lagoon Radio. Barrister, we thank you for being on the show this morning.
Thank you so much.
And we hope to see you when next we'll call upon you.
Absolutely.
And that's the size of the show this morning. From me, ANOSIKE, CHIMEZIE, and our producer, Sandra Nche, is goodbye. And do have a lovely weekend.
This is Lagoon Radio.
Are you looking for top-notch printing services that